Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he checked the mining equipment one more time. The space station was hot and noisy, but it was home. For 3 years, he had worked as the chief engineer on mining station Alpha 7, floating in space around the big gas planet Kepler 442b. The station was not pretty to look at, but it did its job well. The morning started like any other morning. Jake walked through the metal corridors, checking pipes and machines. The station had 47 people living on it. Some were miners who dug up special rocks from the planet's moons. Others were scientists who studied the rocks. The rest were people like Jake who kept everything working. Commander Lisa Bennett sat in the control room, drinking her morning coffee. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and tired eyes. Lisa had been in charge of the station for 2 years. She liked the quiet life out here, far from Earth and its problems. The work was hard, but simple. Dig up the special rocks, send them back to Earth, and try not to die in space. At 3:47 in the morning, everything changed. Danny Rodriguez was working the night shift in the control room. He was a young man from Texas who always smiled and made jokes. Danny was looking at the radar screen when he saw something strange. "Commander Bennett," he called out, "you need to see this." Lisa walked over to Danny's station. On the screen, she could see 12 dots moving toward their station. The dots were big, much bigger than normal human ships. They were also moving very fast. "What are those?" Lisa asked. Danny shook his head. "I don't know. They're not human ships. The computer doesn't know what they are either." Lisa felt a cold feeling in her stomach. In all her years in space, she had never seen alien ships. Most people thought aliens were just stories. But these ships were real, and they were coming straight for the station. "Try to talk to them," Lisa ordered. Danny pressed buttons on his control panel. "Unknown ships, this is mining station Alpha 7. Please respond. We are peaceful miners. Please respond." The ships did not answer. They just kept coming. Dr. Amy Carter was in her lab when the alarm started ringing. She was a small woman with red hair who studied alien life. Amy had hoped to find alien life someday, but not like this. She ran to the control room where everyone was gathering. "What's happening?" Amy asked. "We have visitors," Lisa said. "And they're not being friendly." The 12 alien ships were now close enough to see clearly. They were long and sharp, like metal knives flying through space. Their hulls were dark and smooth, with no windows or lights. They looked dangerous. Ryan Walsh, the communications officer, was a quiet man who usually kept to himself. He was trying everything he could to contact the alien ships. "I'm sending messages on all frequencies," he said. "But they're not responding to anything." Lisa looked at her crew. These people trusted her to keep them safe. She had to make a decision. "All hands, this is the commander. We have unknown ships approaching the station. Everyone go to emergency stations. This is not a drill." The station suddenly became very busy. People ran through the corridors, putting on emergency suits and checking escape pods. Jake Morrison made sure all the important systems were working. If something bad happened, they would need power and air. The alien ships stopped just outside the station's weapons range. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Everyone waited and watched. Maybe the aliens were just curious. Maybe they would leave. Then the first energy beam hit the station. The beam was bright blue and incredibly hot. It cut through the station's shields like they were made of paper. The shields were supposed to protect them from space rocks and radiation, but they were useless against this weapon. "Shields down to 60%, Banny shouted. More beams hit the station. The aliens were not trying to talk. They were trying to destroy everything. Lisa grabbed the ship's radio. "Mayday, Mayday. This is mining station Alpha 7. We are under attack by unknown alien ships. We need help." but the nearest human ship was weeks away. They were alone. The station shook as more energy beams hit it. The lights flickered and went out, then came back on. People screamed as sections of the station were destroyed. The aliens were not just shooting randomly. They were targeting specific parts of the station, the life support systems, the communication arrays, and the engines. Jake Morrison was in the engine room when a beam cut through the hull right next to him. The metal wall melted like ice cream. Air rushed out through the hole, and Jake had to grab onto a pipe to keep from being sucked into space. Amy Carter was trapped in her lab when the corridor outside was destroyed. She put on her emergency suit and waited for rescue, but no one came. The station was falling apart too quickly. In the control room, Lisa watched her home being destroyed piece by piece. The aliens were being very careful. They were not trying to blow up the station all at once. They were taking their time, making sure everyone died slowly. Danny Rodriguez was hurt. A piece of flying metal had cut his arm, and blood was floating in the air. But he kept working at his station, trying to call for help. "I'm losing communications," he said. "The main antenna is gone." Lisa knew they were going to die, but maybe someone else could be warned. Maybe their death could save other people. "Ryan," she said, "send an SOS message. Tell them what happened here. Tell them about the alien ships." Ryan's hands shook as he typed the message. It was simple and short, but it contained everything important. Their location, the number of alien ships, and a warning that humanity was not alone in the universe. "Message sent," Ryan said. A few seconds later, another energy beam hit the control room. The last thing Lisa Bennett saw was the bright blue light coming through the wall. The message had been sent into space, traveling at the speed of light toward Earth. It would take weeks to reach anyone who could help. The alien ships finished their work and left. Where mining station Alpha 7 once stood, there was only scattered metal and the frozen bodies of 47 human beings. The aliens had sent a message of their own, that humanity was weak and alone in a dangerous galaxy. But they had made one mistake. They had let the SOS message escape. And that message was about to change everything. 3 weeks after the mining station was destroyed, the SOS message reached the Galactic Council's monitoring station near Proxima Centauri. The station was a huge metal structure that floated in space, covered with antennas and sensors. It was built to watch for dangerous activity in this part of the galaxy. Counselor Zethka was working the night shift when the message arrived. He was a tall, thin alien who looked like he was made of blue crystal. His people, the Altarians, had been part of the Galactic Council for thousands of years. They thought they were very smart and important. Zethka looked at the human message with mild interest. Humans were a new species that had only recently learned to travel between stars. The Council had been watching them for a few years, but most aliens thought humans were not very important. They were primitive and weak, like children playing with dangerous toys. The message was simple. It said that 47 humans had been killed by unknown alien ships at mining station Alpha 7. The humans were asking for help and warning others about the danger. Zethka checked his computer files. The attacking ships were identified as belonging to the Hegemony, a large empire that had been conquering other species for thousands of years. The Hegemony was led by powerful aliens who believed they were the master race of the galaxy. They destroyed any species they thought was weak or useless. According to Council rules, the Hegemony was allowed to attack primitive species like humans. The Council only protected species that were advanced enough to be useful. Humans had barely learned to travel faster than light. They were not worth protecting. Zethka filed the report and forgot about it. Just another dead species in a galaxy full of violence. It happened all the time, but something else was happening that Zethka did not know about. Deep in the Sol system, hidden sensors had also detected the SOS message. These sensors were secret, built by humans and hidden from alien eyes. They immediately sent the message to Earth. On Earth, President Karen Phillips was sleeping when the emergency call came. She was a strong woman in her 50s who had led humanity through many difficult times. Karen had always known that contact with aliens might not be peaceful. That was why she had supported the secret military programs. "Madam President," said her aide, "you need to see this immediately." Karen read the message 3 times. 47 people were dead, killed by aliens who thought humans were weak and helpless. Karen felt anger burning in her chest. These aliens had made a terrible mistake. She called an emergency meeting of the United Defense Council. This was a secret group that included the most important military leaders on Earth. They met in an underground bunker in Colorado, surrounded by computer screens and armed guards. General Peter Logan was the first to arrive. He was a big man with gray hair and hard eyes. Peter had spent his whole life preparing for war, and now war had come to humanity. "They think we're defenseless," Peter said as he looked at the report. "They think we're just primitive animals who won't fight back." Admiral Susan Clark arrived next. She was a tall woman with short black hair who commanded humanity's secret space fleet. For 20 years, Susan had been building warships in hidden bases throughout the solar system. Most people on Earth did not even know these ships existed. "How many ships can we deploy?" Karen asked. Susan smiled grimly. "We have 43 combat vessels ready for immediate deployment. The aliens destroyed 1 mining station. We're going to destroy their entire fleet." The meeting lasted for 6 hours. Karen listened as her military leaders explained their plans. The mining station had not been just a mining station. It had been a trap designed to attract alien attacks. The 47 people who died were heroes who had volunteered for a dangerous mission. For decades, humanity had been preparing for this moment. They had built weapons and ships in secret. They had trained soldiers and developed new technologies. They had learned from every alien encounter, studying their enemies and finding weaknesses. The hegemony thought they were attacking a helpless species. They were about to learn the humans were not helpless at all. "Send the fleet," Karen ordered, "and make sure the entire galaxy knows what happens to aliens who attack human civilians." At the same time, the hegemony fleet was still near the destroyed mining station. Overlord Kresh was pleased with the easy victory. The humans had died quickly and quietly, just like all the other primitive species his people had eliminated. Kresh was a large alien with 4 arms and dark red skin. He commanded 12 powerful warships, each one capable of destroying entire planets. His people had conquered hundreds of worlds and killed billions of aliens. They were the ultimate predators of the galaxy. Another weak species eliminated, Kresh told his officers. "The humans will serve as a good example to other primitives. Attack the hegemony, and you die." His ships were huge and powerful, built for destroying entire civilizations. They had energy weapons that could melt metal and shields that could stop almost any attack. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years because their technology was superior to everyone else's. But Kresh made a mistake. He decided to stay near the destroyed mining station to search for valuable materials. He thought the humans were too weak and too far away to do anything about the attack. He was wrong. The human fleet was already on its way. 12 ships left. Earth's hidden naval base, traveling faster than light toward the Kepler 442 system. These ships were smaller than the hegemony vessels, but they were built for a different kind of war. Captain Alex Barnes commanded the lead ship Defiance. He was a calm man in his 40s who had trained his whole life for this mission. Alex had studied every alien battle in recorded history. He knew exactly how to fight the hegemony. "All ships, this is Captain Barnes," he said over the radio. "We are going to show these aliens what happens when they mess with humanity. Remember your training. Remember the 47 people who died. Make them count." The human ships were painted dark gray, the color of war. They carried weapons that no alien had ever seen before. Instead of energy beams and particle weapons, the humans used simple kinetic projectiles, chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The aliens had never fought an enemy like this. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid objects moving at near light speed. Their tactics were based on thousands of years of fighting other energy-based civilizations. Rachel Stone was the tactical officer on the Defiance. She was a young woman with blonde hair who had spent years studying alien military tactics. Rachel knew that the hegemony expected their enemies to fight like other aliens. They were about to get a very unpleasant surprise. "Captain," Rachel said, "we're dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds. The hegemony fleet is exactly where our spies said they would be." Tony Martinez was the chief engineer. He was a small man with quick hands who kept the ship's experimental reactor running. The reactor was based on alien technology that humans had stolen and improved. It gave the human ships incredible power and speed. "All systems green," Tony reported. "We're ready to show these aliens what human engineering can do." The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. 12 human ships faced 12 alien ships near the destroyed mining station. The aliens were much larger and supposedly more powerful, but size and power were not everything. The humans had something the aliens did not expect: the willingness to fight dirty and the intelligence to turn their enemies' strengths against them. The battle was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The human fleet moved through space like a pack of wolves. 12 ships in perfect formation, their gray hulls almost invisible against the black void. Captain Alex Barnes stood on the bridge of the Unzi Defiance, watching the enemy fleet on his main screen. The hegemony ships were massive. Each one was 3 times the size of a human vessel, covered in armor and bristling with weapons. They looked like floating fortresses, designed to intimidate and destroy. For 3,000 years, these ships had conquered the galaxy. "Enemy fleet detected," reported Lieutenant Jake Foster from his tactical station. He was a young man with brown hair who had graduated top of his class from the Naval Academy. 12 hegemony vessels, just like intelligence predicted. Alex nodded. The intelligence had come from human spies who had infiltrated alien worlds for decades. While the galaxy thought humans were primitive, human agents had been stealing alien secrets and learning their weaknesses. "All ships, this is Captain Barnes. We are approaching the enemy fleet. Remember, they expect us to fight like other aliens. They expect energy weapons and long-range battles. We're going to give them something completely different." The hegemony fleet detected the human ships and began moving into attack formation. Overlord Kresh looked at his tactical display with amusement. The human ships were tiny compared to his massive warships. This would be even easier than destroying the mining station. "Primitive fools," Kresh said to his officers. "They think their small ships can challenge the might of the hegemony. We will destroy them quickly and move on to their home world." Kresh opened a communication channel to the human fleet. It was traditional for the hegemony to demand surrender before destroying their enemies. It made the victory more satisfying. But before Kresh could speak, Captain Barnes spoke first. "Hegemony vessels, this is Captain Alex Barnes of the United Nations Star Navy. You have committed an act of war against the Terran Colonial Authority. You murdered 47 innocent civilians. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." The alien bridge fell silent. No primitive species had ever spoken to the hegemony like this. They were supposed to beg for mercy, not make demands. Kresh's face turned darker red with anger. You dare threaten the hegemony? You will die for your insolence. I gave you a chance. Alex replied calmly. You chose poorly. The hegemony fleet opened fire immediately. 12 massive energy beams lanced through space toward the human ships. The beams were bright blue and incredibly hot, capable of melting through any known armor. These were the same weapons that had destroyed the mining station. The energy beams struck the human ships and simply stopped. Advanced deflector shields, invisible to the naked eye, absorbed the energy and redirected it harmlessly into space. The human ships did not even slow down. Shields holding at 98%, reported Chief Engineer Tony Martinez. There. Energy weapons are useless against our deflectors. The hegemony officers stared in shock. Their most powerful weapons had no effect on the human ships. This was impossible. No primitive species should have technology this advanced. Commander Elena Murphy was captain of the UNS Retribution, one of the smaller human ships. She was a tough woman with red hair who had grown up in the asteroid belt. Elena had trained her whole life for this moment. All weapons target the lead hegemony vessel, she ordered. Fire when ready. The human ships attacked with weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Instead of energy beams, they fired solid projectiles. Chunks of dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic railguns. The projectiles were simple, but devastatingly effective. The first railgun shot from the UNS, Defiance struck the lead hegemony vessel at 20% of light speed. The kinetic energy was enormous. The projectile punched through the alien ship's shields like they were not even there. The shields were designed to deflect energy, not solid matter. The projectile tore through the ship's hull, creating a hole 3 meters wide. Atmosphere and debris exploded out into space. The massive alien warship, which had terrorized countless worlds, was crippled by a single shot. Direct hit, shouted Rachel Stone from her weapons station. Enemy shields are useless against kinetic projectiles. The other human ships opened fire. Railgun rounds streaked through space, each one carrying the destructive power of a small nuclear weapon. The hegemony fleet, accustomed to fighting with energy weapons, had no defense against this type of attack. The second hegemony ship tried to maneuver away from the human attack, but the human ships were faster and more agile. They had been designed for this type of close-range combat. Captain Brian Hayes commanded the UNZ Vengeance, a fast attack ship armed with multiple railguns. He was a skilled pilot who had trained in the asteroid belt, learning to fight in the most dangerous environment in the solar system. Target their engines, Ryan ordered. Cripple them so they can't escape. The UNZ Vengeance fired 3 railgun rounds in quick succession. All 3 hit the hegemony ship's engine section. The alien vessel lost power and began drifting helplessly through space. Overlord Kresh watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed. The humans were not fighting like other aliens. They were not using energy weapons or fancy tactics. They were simply hitting his ships with chunks of metal, and it was working. Raise shields to maximum power, Kresh shouted. Return fire. But the hegemony weapons were still useless. The human deflector shields continued to absorb the energy attacks without any trouble. Meanwhile, the human railguns continued to tear. Through the alien hull's dot, the third hegemony ship exploded when a railgun round hit its reactor. The explosion was visible from 1,000,000 kilometers away, a brief star that marked the end of a ship that had conquered dozens of worlds. Admiral Susan Clark watched the battle from her flagship, the UNS Liberty. She was pleased with her crew's performance. Years of training and preparation were paying off. The humans were fighting exactly as planned. All ships maintain formation, she ordered. Keep hitting them with everything we have. Don't give them time to adapt. The human ships moved like dancers, working together in perfect coordination. They used tactics that no alien had ever seen before. Instead of long-range energy battles, they closed to short range and used overwhelming kinetic force. The fourth hegemony ship tried to ram the UN's Defiance. It was a desperate move, but the alien captain thought it might work. The human ship was much smaller and might not be able to get out of the way in time. Captain Barnes saw the alien ship coming and smiled. Emergency maneuvers? Show them how humans really fight. The UN's Defiance spun away from the attacking ship at the last second. As the alien vessel passed by, the human ship fired all its weapons at point-blank range. 6 railgun rounds hit the hegemony ship simultaneously, completely destroying it. The battle was turning into a massacre. The hegemony fleet, which had seemed so powerful, was being destroyed ship by ship. The humans were not just winning, they were dominating. Lieutenant Commander Jake Foster coordinated the tactical display, tracking the movement of all ships in the battle. He had studied every alien battle in recorded history, and he had never seen anything like this. "Captain," he said, "we're destroying them faster than they can respond. Their tactics are completely useless against our weapons." Alex nodded. This was exactly what human strategists had predicted. The aliens had become comfortable with their energy-based warfare. They had no experience fighting an enemy that used different tactics. The fifth hegemony ship tried to retreat, but the human ships were too fast. The UN's Retribution caught up with it and fired a spread of railgun rounds. The alien ship's hull cracked open like an egg, spilling its contents into space. Overlord Kresh was beginning to understand the truth. The humans were not primitive at all. They had been watching and learning, preparing for this moment. They had built weapons specifically designed to defeat the hegemony. "Send a message to the Council," Kresh ordered. "Tell them about the humans. They are more dangerous than we thought." But it was too late. The human ships had surrounded the remaining hegemony vessels. The battle was almost over, and the humans had won completely. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the human fleet systematically destroyed the hegemony ships. Throughout the galaxy, aliens monitoring the battle could not believe what they were seeing. The mighty hegemony, rulers of space for 3,000 years, were being crushed by a species that had only learned to travel between stars 50 years ago. Captain Alex Barnes stood on the bridge of the UN's Defiance, watching the tactical display as his fleet completed its deadly work. 7 hegemony ships had already been destroyed. The remaining 5 were trying desperately to escape, but the human ships were faster and more maneuverable. "Target the fleeing vessels," Alex ordered. "Don't let any of them get away." The human ships moved like a pack of hunters, surrounding their prey. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small planet, but they used it with surgical precision. Every shot was carefully aimed to cause maximum damage. Commander Elena Murphy piloted the UN's Retribution through the wreckage of destroyed alien ships. She was a skilled fighter who had grown up in the dangerous asteroid belt. Elena knew how to fight in 3 dimensions, using the debris field as cover. "Railgun loaded and ready," reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Mike Davis. He was a young man from California who had trained for years to operate the powerful magnetic cannon. "Fire when you have a clear shot," Elena ordered. The UN's Retributions railgun fired with a deep thrumming sound that resonated through the ship's hull. The projectile was a simple chunk of dense metal, but it was moving at 25% of light speed. When it hit the hegemony ship, the kinetic energy was devastating. The alien vessel's hull buckled and cracked. Atmosphere rushed out through the breach, carrying with it the bodies of alien soldiers. The ship tried to maintain course, but its structural integrity was failing. "Direct hit," Mike shouted. "Enemy vessel is breaking apart." The hegemony ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Where once there had been a mighty warship, now there was only expanding debris and the glow of escaping energy. Overlord Kresh watched his fleet being destroyed and felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The humans were not just winning the battle. They were demonstrating a level of military capability that shocked him to his core. How is this possible? Kresh demanded of his science officer. These are primitive beings. They should not have technology this advanced. The science officer, a thin alien with multiple eyes, studied his instruments frantically. Sir, their weapons are incredibly simple. They are just throwing metal projectiles at us. But the velocity is enormous. Our shields cannot deflect solid matter moving at these speeds. Then adjust our shields. Kresh roared. It is impossible, sir. Our shield technology is based on energy deflection. We have no defense against kinetic weapons of this magnitude. Kresh realized the horrible truth. The hegemony had become so accustomed to fighting other energy-based civilizations that they had forgotten how to deal with more primitive weapons. The humans had turned this weakness into a devastating advantage. Captain Brian Hayes commanded the Unna's Vengeance, a fast attack ship designed for hit-and-run tactics. He was chasing one of the fleeing hegemony vessels, staying just out of range of their energy weapons. Come on, you ugly bastard, Brian muttered. Let's see how fast you really are. The alien ship was trying to reach the edge of the system where it could jump to hyperspace. But the human ship was faster and more agile. Brian had trained for this type of pursuit his entire career. Weapons ready, sir, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. She was a brilliant young woman who had designed some of the targeting systems used by the human fleet. Fire all weapons, Brian ordered. Let's finish this. The UN's Vengeance fired 3 railgun rounds in rapid succession. The first shot missed, but the second and third struck the fleeing ship's engines. The alien vessel lost power and began tumbling through space. Enemy ship disabled, Sarah reported. They're dead in the water. Brian smiled grimly. Good, one less alien to worry about. The battle was becoming a rout. The hegemony fleet, which had seemed so powerful at the beginning, was being systematically eliminated. The humans were not just winning, they were demonstrating complete military superiority. Admiral Susan Clark watched the progress of the battle from her flagship, the UN's Liberty. She was pleased with her crew's performance, but she knew this was just the beginning. The real test would come when the galaxy realized what humanity was capable of. All ships maintain formation, she ordered. Keep hitting them hard. We need to send a message that the entire galaxy will understand. The message was clear. Humanity was not the primitive species that everyone thought they were. They had been watching and learning, preparing for this moment. And now they were ready to take their place as a major power in the galaxy. The 9th hegemony ship tried a desperate gambit. It fired all its weapons at once, creating a massive energy burst that lit up the entire system. The alien captain hoped to overwhelm the human shields with sheer power, but the human deflector shields held. The energy was absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. The aliens had put everything they had into that attack, and it had accomplished nothing. Their shields are still at full power, reported the alien weapons officer. We cannot penetrate their defenses. The human response was swift and brutal. The UN's Defiance fired a spread of railgun rounds that turned the alien ship into scrap metal. The explosion was visible from the other side of the system. Lieutenant Commander Jake Foster monitored the tactical situation from his station on the UNS Defiance. He had studied alien military tactics for years, and he could see that the hegemony was completely outmatched. Captain, he said, the remaining enemy ships are trying to form a defensive formation. They're grouping together to concentrate their firepower. Alex Barnes nodded. Let them. It will just make our job easier. The human ships moved to surround the remaining hegemony vessels. The aliens had made the classic mistake of trying to fight a new enemy using old tactics. The humans had planned for this exact situation. All ships, execute Formation Delta. Alex ordered. Time to show them what coordinated human warfare looks like. The human fleet moved with precision that amazed even their own crews. 12 ships acting as one, each captain knowing exactly what the others were doing. This was the result of years of training and preparation. The UN's Retribution fired first, its railgun round punching through the shields of the lead hegemony ship. The UN's Vengeance followed up with a shot that destroyed the alien vessel's main reactor. The explosion took out 2 more alien ships that were too close to the blast. 3 enemy ships destroyed with 2 shots, reported Commander Elena Murphy. These aliens really don't know how to fight a kinetic war. The remaining hegemony ships were now in full retreat, but there was nowhere to run. The human ships were everywhere, cutting off every escape route. The aliens who had terrorized the galaxy for millennia were about to learn what it felt like to be hunted. Overlord Kresh made one last desperate attempt to save his fleet. He opened a communication channel to the human ships, intending to negotiate a surrender. "Human vessels," he said, "I'm Overlord Kresh of the hegemony. I wish to discuss terms of surrender." Captain Barnes' response was cold and final. "The time for talking is over. You murdered 47 human civilians. Now you pay the price." The last 4 hegemony ships were destroyed in quick succession. The human fleet moved with deadly efficiency, their railguns tearing through alien hulls like paper. In less than 2 hours, the entire hegemony fleet had been eliminated. When the battle was over, the human ships floated among the wreckage of their enemies. Not a single human vessel had been lost. The crew casualties were minimal, a few minor. Injuries from the ship's maneuvers, nothing more. Captain Barnes opened a communication channel on all galactic frequencies. His message would be heard by every species in the galaxy. "This is Captain Alex Barnes of the United Nations, Star Navy. We have eliminated the hegemony fleet that attacked and destroyed Mining Station Alpha 7. This system is now under the protection of the Terran Colonial Authority. Any further attacks on human civilians will be met with overwhelming force." The message spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. Within hours, every alien government would know that humanity had announced itself as a major military power. The galaxy would never be the same. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The hegemony fleet was gone, completely destroyed by human warships. Species that had lived in fear of the hegemony for thousands of years could hardly believe it. The mighty empire that had conquered. Hundreds of worlds had been defeated by a species that most aliens considered primitive. On the Galactic Council Station near Proxima Centauri, Counselor Zethka stared at the battle reports in shock. His crystalline hands trembled as he read the details. 12 hegemony warships destroyed. 0 human casualties. The battle had lasted less than 2 hours. "This is impossible," Zethka whispered. "The humans are barely more advanced than animals. How could they defeat the hegemony?" His aide, a small, furry alien named Pip, nervously shuffled the data files. "Sir, our intelligence reports suggest that the humans have been preparing for this for decades. They have been building a secret military while pretending to be peaceful miners and traders." Zethka felt a cold fear creeping through his body. The Council had dismissed humanity as unimportant. They had allowed the hegemony to attack human civilians without intervention. Now it seemed that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. "Contact the other Council members," Zethka ordered. "We need an emergency session immediately." Across the galaxy, other species were having similar reactions. The Vegan Republic, the Centauri Alliance, and dozens of smaller governments were all scrambling to understand what had happened. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted overnight. On Earth, President Corinne Phillips sat in her office, reading reports from Admiral Susan Clark. The battle had been a complete success. Not only had they destroyed the hegemony fleet, but they had also sent a clear message to the entire galaxy. "The alien governments are panicking," reported General Peter Logan. "Our intelligence networks are picking up emergency communications from every major species. They're all trying to figure out what we're capable of." Corinne smiled. This was exactly what she had hoped for. Good. Fear will make them more reasonable when we start negotiations. The phone on her desk rang. It was Admiral Clark calling from her flagship. "Madam President," Susan said, "we're receiving communication requests from dozens of alien governments. They all want to talk." "Let them wait," Corinne replied. "We'll talk when we're ready, not when they want us to." Meanwhile, at the site of the battle, Captain Alex Barnes was overseeing the cleanup operation. His ships were collecting data from the destroyed hegemony vessels and searching for survivors. There were none. The alien fleet had been completely eliminated. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Jake Foster, "we're detecting multiple ships approaching the system. They appear to be from various alien governments." Alex nodded. He had expected this. News of the battle would bring curious aliens who wanted to see the wreckage for themselves. Some would be potential allies. Others would be potential enemies. Studying human capabilities. "Keep our weapons ready," Alex ordered. "We don't know who we can trust yet." The first ship to arrive was from the Altarian Empire. It was a sleek vessel with crystalline sections that sparkled in the light of the system star. The ship maintained a respectful distance from the human fleet. "Human vessels," came a transmission from the alien ship. "This is Ambassador Vel Tha of the Altarian Empire. We request permission to observe the battle site." Alex considered the request carefully. The Altarians were members of the Galactic Council, but they had not helped when the mining station was attacked. Still, it might be useful to show them what human weapons could do. "Permission granted," Alex replied. "But maintain your distance. Any hostile action will be met with immediate retaliation." The Altarian ship moved slowly through the debris field, its sensors recording everything. Ambassador Veltha was a tall, elegant alien who had served in the diplomatic corps for centuries. She had seen many battles, but nothing like this. Hegemony ships had been torn apart by kinetic weapons. Huge holes punched through their hulls, metal twisted and melted by the incredible forces involved. The humans had not just defeated the hegemony, they had completely outclassed them. "Fascinating," Veltha murmured to her science officer. "The humans use such simple weapons, yet they are devastatingly effective. Our energy-based defenses would be useless against such attacks." More ships arrived over the next few hours. The Vegan Republic sent a diplomatic vessel. The Centauri Alliance dispatched a research ship. Even some of the smaller species sent representatives to see the wreckage. All of them reached the same conclusion. Humanity was a major military power that could not be ignored. Back on the Galactic Council station, the emergency session was in. Chaos. Representatives from dozens of species were shouting at each other, trying to figure out how to respond to the human threat. Counselor Zethka tried to restore order. "We must consider our options carefully. The humans have demonstrated military capabilities that exceed our intelligence estimates. They're savages," shouted Representative Grix of the hegemony. He was one of the few surviving hegemony officials, and he was furious about the destruction of their fleet. "They attacked without warning. They showed no mercy. Your people attacked a civilian mining station," replied Counselor Mira of the Vegan Republic. She was a small, peaceful alien who had always opposed hegemony aggression. The humans were defending themselves. "We must invite them to join the council," suggested Ambassador Kell from the Centauri Alliance. "If they are this powerful, We need them as allies, not enemies. The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. Humanity could not be ignored or dismissed anymore. They were a force that the galaxy would have to deal with. 3 days after the battle, a formal delegation from Earth arrived at the Galactic Council Station. Admiral Susan Clark led the human delegation, accompanied by diplomats and military advisors. Their ship was one of the new human vessels, sleek and dangerous-looking. The council chambers had been prepared for the historic meeting. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy were present. Security was tight, with alien guards stationed throughout the building. Admiral Clark walked into the chamber wearing her dress uniform, her medals gleaming under the artificial lights. She was an imposing figure, tall and confident, with the bearing of someone who commanded powerful warships. "Honored council members," she began, "I am Admiral Susan Clark of the United Nations Star Navy. I come here today to formally request membership in the Galactic Council for the human species." The chamber fell silent. This was the moment that would reshape galactic politics. "We offer our military protection to any species facing extinction from aggressive empires," Susan continued. "We have proven that we can defend the innocent and punish those who prey on the weak. Our terms are simple: recognition of human territorial claims and non-interference with human expansion." Councillor Zefka stood up slowly. As the senior member of the council, it was his responsibility to respond. "Admiral Clark, the council acknowledges the military capabilities that humanity has demonstrated. We are prepared to discuss membership, but there are conditions that must be negotiated." Susan smiled coldly. "With respect, Counselor, humanity is not here to negotiate from a position of weakness. We have 43 combat vessels currently deployed throughout the galaxy. Each one is capable of destroying fleets, like the one that attacked our mining station. We are offering to use this power to protect peaceful species. You can accept our offer, or you can try to stop us. Choose wisely." The threat was clear. Humanity was not asking for permission to join the galactic community. They were announcing their arrival and offering terms. The council could accept those terms, or they could face the same fate as the hegemony. A vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Over the following months, human fleets appeared throughout the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear of aggressive empires suddenly found themselves under human protection. The humans kept their word. They defended the weak and punished those who attacked civilians. The Krell Dominion learned this lesson when they tried to enslave a peaceful farming species called the Gentle Ones. A human fleet appeared within hours and destroyed the Krell invasion force. The Dominion never tried to expand again. The Shadow Syndicate, a group of pirates and raiders, found their bases destroyed by human kinetic weapons. Their ships were hunted down and eliminated one by one until the Syndicate ceased to exist. Captain Alex Barnes, now promoted to Admiral, established the first human embassy on the Council world. The building was modest but well defended, with human Marines standing guard at the entrance. The message was clear to every alien who saw it. Humanity had arrived, and they were here to stay. The simple SOS signal from Mining Station Alpha 7 had accomplished exactly what it was designed to do. It had drawn the hegemony into a trap, demonstrated human military power, and announced to the galaxy that a new force had emerged from the small blue world called Earth. The 47 people who died on that mining station had not died in vain. They had become martyrs for humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Their sacrifice had opened the door for their species to take its place among the stars. And in the years that followed, whenever aggressive aliens threatened peaceful species, they would receive the same message that the He